Well, since you're also a financial consultant, you probably are very aware of the reforms in the Nigerian banking sector. How do you think this will eventually affect your investment profile in Nigeria? The organizations you work for, that's what I mean.
It's got to be a good thing, because in the past people were able to go in, see a few friends, set up banks anyhow, mainly with a view to actually for foreign exchange transactions. They weren't really proper banks. You also had very irresponsible managers of various banks that went bust, owing investors a lot of money, and that can create a crisis, a domino effect in the financial system. One bank goes under, it takes another one down, bang, 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 the whole thing now collapses. So the consolidation means that these banks will have a more solid financial foundation. And because you're bringing in teams of directors from different banks who'll be sharing expertise and knowledge, so it's a very good thing for the future. It makes the financial system, far more solid and dependable and professional.
Another text message. What about people like Alhaji Shinkafa in the year 2007 presidential race, who we know was your boss?
I have
to the best of your knowledge.
Yeah, I have a tremendous respect for Umar Shinkafa. You know, I think he's a real tragedy that he didn't succeed. I don't honestly know what his position is. I do know that he's fairly advanced in years and that his health hasn't been good. But even so, I've just got this feeling that I would like to see a change, and I think that someone like Marafa could understand that. I think that he would have no problem at all with that. I think that if you're genuine about it, and if you'd say that, look, it's good for the nation for the next president to come from the South-South, it will help to allay an awful lot of the bad feeling that's being generated in the South-South and the animosity and the violence that people are talking. And it's actually even good for the country, because it'd be very difficult for a president from the South to now start talking about 50% resource allocation. He'll now have the national interest at heart. He will now have to put his mind on that. Whether if he stays out, the only way he can maintain his political popularity in his own region is by agitating. Because if he doesn't agitate, the radicals that want to go there and blow up flow stations and pipelines and, you know, grab the whole thing and have a separatist state there, like a mini Kuwait or United Arab Emirates, they will come through, because they will see the responsible South-West politicians as not representing their cause effectively.
Another text message. I would like to meet someone like you. In fact, I am enjoying your discussion. Please keep it up, and God bless you, Derek. He doesn't say from where.
Derek, thank you very much. I was very nervous about coming on here, and I'm so glad for all the positive responses we had so far. But I'm sure Bayo's editing them.
Now, another text message. Politically, the South-South needs to reorganize for 2007. What do you think, Dr. Baylor from Sokoto?
Absolutely, Doctor. It's clear, and it's clear that it is reorganizing. If you've seen the recent announcements from Governor Atta, if you've seen the way that the governors have been getting together, if you've seen the work that Chief Horsfall's been doing to try and bring everyone together, and what's clear to me from politicians across the range, across class barriers, across political barriers, across age barriers, in the South-South, they're all coming together with a common purpose that, look, this thing can be done. And we think that it's not just good for us, but we think it'll be good for Nigeria.
Well, it's good for you to have aspirations and try to realize those aspirations. What if it doesn't work? Would you feel, from your interaction with people from the South-South, leaders in the South-South, would you then feel alienated?
No. If our candidate didn't win, and if the candidate that won was manifestly better, then we would have to accept that. But if the candidate that won was some tired old has-been who we know before, or someone that didn't compete, obviously we'd be very, very disappointed. And the issue is this, Bayo, you see, we live in very difficult times at the moment. Bush's intervention in Iraq has pushed oil prices up to $65 a barrel, $66 a barrel at today's rate. If there's any problem in that region, oil will go to $100 a barrel, which will cause an immediate recession in the West. So believe you me, the West are eyeing this issue. They're keeping a very close eye on it. And if there is a fragmentation of Nigeria, it's not going to be a joke. It'll make Yugoslavia look like a tea party. So it's something that we simply cannot afford to allow to happen. And that's one thing I would like to raise. I don't know Obasanjo well.
What do we have to do to prevent? I mean, you know, there was some report by an agency in the United States saying that given a number of conditions in another 15
Absolutely.
years, Nigeria might fragment. What do we need to do, in your view, to prevent a situation like this materializing?
Well, some anti-American conspiracy theorists might think that that wasn't a prediction, it was a wish that they would like that to happen. At the moment, they saw something like 75% of the world's crude oil resources are in countries which are Islamic or run by Islamic countries, or countries which have large Islamic populations, whether that's the Middle East, Indonesia, Nigeria, for example. So the idea of a small fragmented delta region, a bit like the Kuwait or the Emirates,
Qatar, yeah.
it might be attractive, a Christian one might be attractive to certain radical elements in the US. We know that. My own opinion, it would be disastrous for the country and disastrous for the world, and that we hope that something like that wouldn't happen. The problem responsible southern minority leaders have is restraining the youth anywhere in the world. Look what's happening now in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
Who is claiming credit for it? The radicals, Hamas, not the Palestinian administration, who have tried concessionary talks with Israel but got nowhere. Hamas is saying it's because you went out there and started blowing up people and shooting people that they had to give it to us. And that's the problem that we face in the Delta region. If our leaders are unable to effect change, realistic change, and bring about some alleviation of some of the monstrous conditions those people are living under, they will abandon us, see us as collaborators and stooges of people that are there just to loot from them and do them harm, and take up the gun and start shedding blood. They're already threatening to do so. It's not I'm saying so. We know what the situation is on the ground.
No, but how would the leaders bring about change?
Unfortunately, you have to have leaders that are visionary and unselfish. And again, at the risk of appearing to be an Ambassador apologist, I'll say one thing about him. It's clear from all his pronouncements, even this confab, everything he said, that this man is an ardent nationalist. He really detests the idea of Nigeria fragment. He doesn't want to hear it. You say, well, Sab, I'm sure he'd get very annoyed. If you say OPC, I'm sure he'd get really annoyed. He really is a genuine federalist. He really does believe in this nation. He's a true patriot. He's actually quite radical. This was a man that nationalized Barclays Bank when Thatcher was supporting the South Africans, nationalized BP, allowed Cuban troops to fly to Angola. So people shouldn't view him as someone that has sectional interests. He's actually someone that perceives himself to be an international statesman and a true patriot. He fought to keep this country one. So he is addressing the problem. But it's not him that we perceive to be the problems. And I'm sorry to say, I will mention a particular name. I was very shocked to hear the statements that Umar Diko allegedly made. It seemed to be most unhelpful. I haven't read the full text of his statement. I understand that he's now trying to retract his position and saying that it's not what he said, etc., etc. But that's not really the problem. The problem is he said something which was generally perceived to be how certain people in a certain section of this country view us in the South, like a cow to be milked. And when it's finished, they'll go away.
I'll take another text message. My name is Nathaniel Oluwafemi. Mr. Peter, as a legal advisor and a consultant, how would you advise a federal government to utilize the money from debt relief effectively and efficiently?
Again, I think that's an issue for the respective organs of government here. My own personal opinion is that the one thing we really should focus on is education. Education for me, education. I think that's one of the most important things. Then agriculture, water resources, and power generation. These are the main sectors that I think that the money should be used for.
I remember your father used to be the general manager of the old ECN, yes?
That's right.
Now, when you come to Nigeria and you see the power situation, what goes through your mind?
It's a real shame. My father was the first Nigerian general manager of NEPA, which was then ECN, as you correctly said. When the British left, they left him in position. And he then acted throughout his life until he died in 1992 as a major consultant to NEPA. And I was associated with some of the consulting, so it's an issue that I know quite well. It's really, really a tragedy. We're producing something like 3,000 megawatts, which is not enough really to service a major town in the US or in the West. But again, historically, we have to ask why. That a lot of people during a certain period of our government allowed these power stations to run down. Do you know why? So that they could now get contracts to refurbishment. They then collected the money and did nothing.
Peter, we can go on forever, but very quickly, a defining moment in your life.
Wow, that's a difficult one. I would have to say probably when I found God.
When you found God.
Yes, and that's what I have to thank Nigeria for. You know, I was brought up in quite a liberal way in England, where people are quite ambivalent to the Almighty, and it's a very free liberal attitude they have, and I was like that, and I used to sort of really have my doubts about what you call agnostic. It's not that you don't believe in God, but you're just not really sure. But I have to say that's one thing I'm very grateful for, that if you don't believe in God, then you haven't lived in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Mr. Appio, for coming on the program. I wish you the very best in all your endeavors.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly grateful.
Well, viewers, that's one-on-one for this day with Mr. Peter Appio. Thank you very much for spending part of your time with us. Do enjoy the weekend. Tomorrow's another day.